All right, everybody. So last week you started a pre-writing activity where you broke down the prompt that was asking what happens when imagination overcomes reality. And you did a three-step process where you looked at the prompt, then you did some pre-writing, and then you kind of focused your pre-writing to choose a final topic for your essay. Now, as I was going through looking at these and grading the pre-writing activities, I noticed that there were a lot of y'all who still seemed to kind of be struggling with what this prompt means and how you are supposed to answer it, and even maybe what a personal essay is. So, first, I'm going to tell you that the key to being successful on this essay will be twofold. That means that there are two things you need to do to be successful. Um, Number one, you need to have a good understanding of what the prompt is so that you can answer the prompt. Because if you do not answer the prompt, then you can't get a good grade on the essay. You must answer the prompt of what happens when imagination overcomes reality. So if you're going to answer that question, you have to actually understand what it's asking, okay? I noticed that some of y'all seem to think that reason means like a reason for your imagination, but this is not evidence reason. This is like logic reason, okay? So the word reason in the prompt really means logical. Okay, so when is a time when your imagination, and this could be positive or negative. So a positive imagination would be like a dream that you have that you hope will happen. A negative imagination would be like a fear that you have, something that you really fear will happen, but you really don't want it to happen. Okay, so what happens when a dream or a fear overtakes or overcomes reason or logic? Okay, so let's look at what some of those things might look like, some of those examples, okay? So here, this first student is talking about a time when they dreamed to become a soccer player after seeing a soccer player, Lionel Messi, a famous soccer player, play. And now he's dreaming that he will become a famous soccer player. Okay, so this is imagination, right? This is a positive imagination. And then here in the second example, we see the idea that popped out the most to me, to write about my imagination overcame my reason when I was afraid of clowns after I went to a party. So this is a negative example of imagination overcoming their reality, and that was called fear. So when fear happened. So this student would say when imagination overcame my reality is when I became afraid of clowns after going to a party where there were clowns. And what happened was this is how it impacted my life. So that's how you answer the prompt. You take this story of this fear and you say, this is how this fear impacted my life. Okay, this is what happened when my imagination overtook my reason. Okay. Couple more good examples. This student is talking about becoming a detective and how she would like to become a detective, okay? And this is a dream she has. So again, we see the positive imagination here, right? That she wants to become a detective and that her imagination sometimes overcomes her reasoning, but that it's okay to imagine. It's not bad to do this. So the only thing that I would say to this student is to make sure you come back around to explaining what happens when this does happen. What happens when your dream to become a detective does overcome your reason, okay, your logic. This student here is talking about becoming a supernatural fighter, and how they believed that there was supernatural out there in the world. I want my reader to know that our imaginations can get crazy and our imagination might take over, but your reasoning could always come back to have a different mindset. So this student is talking about how their imagination created this idea that there was something out there in the world and that they were going to go fight it. So it seems like this probably stemmed from a fear, again, that negative imagination, right? But again, we have to make sure we come back around and that we answer that question, what happens when this happens? So for example, a time when my fear overtook my logic, my negative imagination overtook my reason, was one time when I was in Mexico with my husband and my daughter decided to play hide and seek for no reason, and I didn't know she was playing hide and seek. So she went off into my mother-in-law's home and hid from me. And I thought that somebody had taken her. I got so scared and my fear overcame my logic that I didn't even think to go look in the most obvious place where she should have been, okay, which was the room that we were staying in while we were there. I didn't even think to look there because I thought there's no way that she's in there because she was just here right next to me. How did she get over there? There's no way she could be over there. So my fear that somebody had taken her like way overcame my logic that she could be where she was supposed to be in the bedroom that we were staying in. So, what happens when that happens? Well, when my fear overtook my reason, I stopped thinking about what can I do to fix this, and I just started panicking. Okay, so that panic set in. I started screaming. I started crying. I called my husband. I didn't even know like what kind of emergency line do you call when you're in Mexico. Here, I would have called 911. But does that work in Mexico? I don't know what to do here. So I just panicked and just lost it. So this is what happened when my fear overtook reality. All right, so we got interrupted by the announcements here on campus. Moving on, real quickly, I wanted to show you a couple of examples that I saw a lot of examples like this from you guys where I didn't feel like you were quite getting what you needed to get. So this student said, I think the fact about how new possibilities can come from the imagination more than reasoning. So there is an idea forming here where new ideas, new possibilities come from the imagination. That's a good idea. Okay, that it does come from imagination more so than logic and reason. But this student is not answering the prompt because there's no good example here. They're starting to answer the prompt. They're saying that it's good when you imagine things because new possibilities, new ideas come from that. But give me an example of when that happens. I need to see an example, okay? Like, for example, Einstein, right? He came up with great new ideas because of his imagination, right? It didn't make sense logically because the science wasn't there yet to understand the way electricity worked, right? But he had a great imagination and he figured it out and he came up with new ideas and new possibilities. But since this is a personal essay, I need an example from this student about what is a time in their personal life when a new idea or a new possibility came out of their imagination. So has to be personal in order for it to be a personal essay. All right, second student says, the ideas that pop out to me from my pre-writing is that things can either go good or bad. I want the reader to know that letting imagination overcome reason won't always be bad and it won't always be good. I'm going to organize this essay by putting my thought and personal experience into it. Okay, so good. The student does notice that they need to put a personal experience in this. Something that I would say to this student is that anything, literally anything in the world can be good or bad, right? Like popcorn can be good or bad. Driving to school can be good or bad. Going on vacation can be good or bad. Literally anything in the world can be good or bad. Everything is good or bad. Nothing is not good or not bad. So this is just very vague. I don't know what the student's going to be talking about here. I don't even know if the student and understands the prompt because they've said nothing about what imagination overcoming reason means. I mean, they do say imagination overcomes reason, but that's literally from the prompt. You're just saying that imagination overcoming reason can be good or bad, and that it won't always be good. Sometimes it'll be bad. Sometimes anyway, so it's just very vague. There's no specific example here. So this I saw a lot of this, not necessarily written exactly this way, but a lot of very vague answers that didn't even tell me, do you understand what you're supposed to be writing about? Okay, I need you to talk about ideas, okay, specific ideas, not just vague ideas. So tell me, what does it mean when that imagination can overcome reason? What is an example in your life of when that happened? Okay, this is what a personal essay is about.